Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing as well. Big transfer stories to talk about tonight. Real Madrid on the hunt for another free transfer from Liverpool as they start the charm offensive. They start the Duolingo membership for Konate to take him for free next summer. Manchester City fans threaten to sue their own club, their owners that have brought them the greatest period in their club's history, made them European greats with a 4P and treble winning team. They are threatening to sue. A legal letter has been sent by their fans to their own club. We're taking a look at Nico Williams to Arsenal. Reports that they are making big bids into the player's camp to convince him to stay, with offers of £9 million in salary. We're looking at Ekitike to Manchester United as well. Reportedly, personal terms will be no problem. So loads to go through, loads to talk about. We've got an excellent panel for you. David, whose camera will go on soon. He's on his way back from the gym. We've got Man Like Ram on the show. Tom Little is here. And I think Henry Wright is dropping in a little bit later in the show as well. Yeah, Nick, I know we're a bit late, but I have to wait for the guest to get here. It's not me, but I'm sitting backstage. It just is what it is. Get a cup of tea. Get yourselves ready. In fairness, I had the show set up for 5:20 for some very weird reason. I don't know why I did that. It was actually 5 o'clock we were meant to go live. So actually, if you were sitting here waiting, we've actually gone live early in comparison to what YouTube said. Yeah, it is. There we go. So there we go. Look, and I wanted to start off with a big bit of transfer news that came out earlier on today, and that is that Man United are the only club to have made direct contact with Frankfurt over Ekitike. We've contacted the representation of the player, who is said to be very open to the idea of joining Manchester United, and it has been reported this afternoon that the player personal terms have been agreed, or will be no problem, whichever phrase you prefer, but they mean exactly the same damn thing. And Christopher Vavell, once of Chelsea, our head of recruitment, is said to be pushing for the deal for Hugo Ekitike. Vavell's got a great relationship with Frankfurt sporting director, and Frankfurt are open to accepting a deal in installments. So Man United pushing on potentially with that deal. What do we make of this in terms of, it's not a U-turn, but it's a change of direction for Manchester United? There's talk that the player's very happy with the idea of coming to the club. Chelsea and Liverpool haven't really progressed it from initial conversations and haven't spoke to Frankfurt. But thoughts on this as a potential new number 9 at Old Trafford?
He's an improvement on what you've got, but I don't think he's the right fit for what United's attack is shaping up to be in terms of the players that you're going to have either side of them. So Ekitike likes to drift and float around everywhere and pick up spaces, when in reality that's what your 210s and Cunha and Mbeumo are going to want to be doing, drifting around, finding these pockets to the left and to the right. What you almost need is a striker who's going to basically stand within the 18-yard box or that area of the pitch, receive balls into feet, receive balls in the air, and lay them off for these guys around them to create and then get in the box for the finishes. I think Ekitike wants to be the guy who's drifting out wide, picking it up, driving towards the box. You know, it might work if you want to do like a really, like, where everyone can go everywhere type thing, but I just think based on the profiles that you've got and the way that Cunha works, because obviously Mbeumo has worked with a different type of forward before he can work with Visser as well as Tony, but Cunha only really started working brilliantly for Wolves when he was playing off a big man. So the big man would drag some defenders, and then Cunha could drift into space around him. I don't think that's Ekitike's type of game. So he's a good player, but I just don't know if fit-wise it's necessarily the greatest thing for United. I feel like, I said last stream, I think a Mateta is more of a natural fit for this United front three.
While he is better, I think you end up with similar problems than when you play with Xerxes, where it's just like you end up with 4 people in the same spot, and it doesn't really work. I'm not sure. I don't see the fit, really. The only thing I could say is if you plan to get rid of Ekitike's best part of his game, which is his like link-up play, and tell him literally just sit up top. If you tell him to sit up top, then it might work. However, also he's not the greatest.
He's not.
That might be a slight issue.
I think it depends on how you want to play the likes of him. That's like what Tom said about how you like to play Mbeumo and Cunha. If you're looking to have those two play very narrow towards the goal, which I don't think would work, especially for someone like Cunha. I think Mbeumo it may work, but if you're looking to have a very, very narrow cams that push up and you want Ekitike to drop deep and link up play with that, it may work. But with the kind of players that you got, I agree. I think you might need a target man up front, a Giroud-like player that could link up play, but also be a presence in the box that could lay it off to the likes of Cunha and Mbeumo, who could finish some chances. So he's a good player, but I don't know if he's the right player that you guys need. I think you need a proper number 9, a target man up top.
I hope you get him because I don't want him. And if you get him, we can't buy him.
I understand where you're all coming from. The thing for me is when you look at his strength, now he's young, he isn't prolific at this particular moment, but a lot of strikers of his age are not prolific. We see it in all types of positions. I mean, it's taken Dembele until he's 28 to fulfill his potential. Vitinha, we were talking about this on the show earlier today, going, PSG are full of kids. Well, they're not. Vitinha's 25. It's taken him into his 25 to really turn into the player he's potential promise. So I'm not worried that he's not scoring 30 goals a season at 22. Very few players have. You've got like Mbappe's and Haaland's that are fucking freaks when it comes to the goal output at a young age. You look at most strikers, Michael Owen and Robbie Fowler were that way. They actually started very heavy goal scoring young, and they actually drifted. The older they got, the worse they got. Where most strikers, if you go through history, and even when you look at the two greatest goal scorers in the history of football, they weren't number 9s, but Messi and Ronaldo, it started slower and got better and better. And I think you think about it sometimes, look, you'd rather it start slower and get better and better and last a long time than have 2 or 3 brilliant years and then fade away, I suppose, in theory. His positioning is also very good and his anchor play is also good. It's just he likes to drop deep. The one thing that I've listened to a Tactico talk about this and it made sense is that there are elements of his game that you can nurture and develop. So it could be a case of, we want you to play your game, but we want you to do it in this zone. And I know that managers talk about zones, right? You're going to operate, but instead of dropping into the areas, because he drops a lot into the zones around the halfway line. If he's trained and taught, don't drop that deep, stay in these areas, that could potentially help. However, the one issue Man United have got, so I take on board what you guys have said. There is counters to that, but at the same time, I almost feel like we're in a little bit of a state of beggars can't be choosers, and I think we have to start. I think we have to cast down net far and wide. I think we have to sort of go out there into the market and say, right, well, if we're not getting, we've tried to get the lap and it hasn't happened. At the moment, Gyökeres isn't on for us. So I think we have to start looking. I think that, I think we have to go and talk to Mateta's camp. I think we've got to look at Ekitike. I think we should make some contact with Šeško in case Arsenal do decide to go for Gyökeres, because that's the one thing we need. I think we have to start looking at the Ollie Watkins of this world. We can't go into next season without a much better number 9s than what we've got. Even with Mbeumo, which I'm very happy with, that God willing will get over the line. Cunha's an excellent deal. We need that better number 9. So for me, that's the only thing that I'm a little nervous about, if that makes sense. I'm just a little bit with it right now, if that makes sense.
I think with that is watching him for Frankfurt. I think if you want to utilize him in certain spaces, you are going to limit a lot of his game. And what I've seen from him, his pace, his power, his drive, his dribbling ability are all standout abilities for a number 9 of his caliber. Those are the main qualities of him. I feel as though if you try and nurture that out of him, then you're kind of limiting what he can really do. And if you get like a settled target man for what I think you guys need, I feel like it would just be a brilliant signing that would fit like a glove in your team. I really do. That's why I wouldn't mind you guys getting him just to see the sheer function of how it will work. But if you find a target man that's of the quality, then I think you guys may have a brilliant signing on your hands for a reason.
I don't know why you would buy him if you want to coach out all his best points, especially for that amount of money. It wouldn't. It just
Yeah.
to me, it doesn't make sense.
100 million.
And whilst you've got what's his name, Xerxes, who is seemingly the one you want to keep, and not Højlund. If you've got Xerxes, the skill sets are pretty similar. So United need to have an element of unpredictability about themselves. If you've got Ekitike is a taller version, a more lanky version of Xerxes, but they want to do the same things. It's why I think that, like I said, I hope you get him because it means my club can't buy him, and I don't want us to go near him. I think we need to shop in different areas. If you get him, it's just going to be a case of your attack is going to be very predictable. Doesn't make it bad, but it's just going to be very predictable. You're going to be wanting to do the same things pretty constantly because there's no real change in the dynamic up front. So it'll be your striker wants to drift and float everywhere. So then when you wide attacking midfield is going to have to go dropping in the middle, and the other one's probably inevitably going to end up dropping a bit deeper, and you're going to form a bit of a lopsided triangle up top where the striker's out on the left and your right attacking midfielders went up front, and then it all becomes a little bit awkward in that sense. Whereas I think I do think Mateta's the best bet. I do think Mateta, he's Premier League proven. He's got a bit of experience about himself. He's 27. He's been in the league a number of years now. And he knows exactly how to play as a target man in a system similar to this. Because the Palace system and the United system aren't too dissimilar. There's a lot of principles that are the same in both systems. I do feel like it translates a little bit better if you take a Mateta, at least for the next 2 years. Because the market right now for strikers isn't necessarily great. There's who knows what it'll be like in a year or two's time. I think that the logical thing for United to do is grab Mateta now for the next 2 years. Because his floor is higher than Ekitike's floor. Mateta will get you a set amount of goals. Mateta's a bit of a guarantee in this league for how many goals he'll get you. It won't be, 20, 25, but Mateta is a better facilitator in the Premier League, better fit in my opinion, and he'll give you 10 goals. And then you've got your Xerxes if you want to go for a front three, which is a little bit more fluid and dynamic in nature, maybe against some different types of opposition. I just think it makes a lot of sense to go with Mateta and Xerxes for the time being. And then you've got another year or two, we can figure out exactly where you need to go with this striker. Because what you have then is you've got both profiles and you can figure out which one just works better. If your target man's working better and you're getting better performance out of everyone else, that's where your money goes. But if in 2 years' time, Mateta, he does a job, but it's not great, but the team looks a lot better when Xerxes up there, well, you know what type of strike you need to go for then. I just feel like for the price that Ekitike is quoted at, you're going to be boxing yourself in to a profile of player that you're seemingly not going to want to use to his full capability by limiting him and telling him to go in certain areas where he doesn't want to be.
I think a player that you guys I think would be a great fit for you, it just popped into my head, is someone like Guirassy from Dortmund. Some of his ilk, very strong, powerful, brilliant aerial presence, good at holding up play. We saw, when he played next to Undav, and I'm not a massive fan of Undav, but them two were scoring goals left, right, and centre for Stuttgart. So I think someone of that caliber, I think he'll be a brilliant signing for United, in my opinion.
All really good suggestions, and I like the idea of Mateta as a short-term option. And I will just reiterate, that's not me suggesting, I'll say reiterate, I haven't said it today, but I said it before. I'm not suggesting landing these players is a foregone conclusion, is easy, a walk in the park for Manchester United. They would be very difficult to get. There's a lot of talk that Mateta, even with the murmurs of some bigger clubs coming in for him, wants to stay at sort of Palace, take an increase in pay, at least do this season and have their year in Europe with them. And I understand why. I think that may be attractive to a number of players at Crystal Palace, depending on who the sides that come in for them are. I mean, I was thinking about Eze and his links to Tottenham. I get why he would go Tottenham if the salary's really high, but I could also understand if his only real option's Tottenham, I could understand him saying, you know what? I'll go next summer. I fancy that season in Europe with Crystal Palace, a team that's given me a chance in the big time, that he was instrumental in winning their first ever trophy for. And we saw last season, Crystal Palace were a better team last year than Man United and Spurs. Crystal Palace would have won the Europa League last year. There's a lot of Premier League teams that would have won that tournament last year, but how bad we were, both of us.
I mean, 16 of them could have done. considering Tottenham finished 17th.
So I understand why some of these guys may say no to United, but I like the suggestions. I'm just, United are casting the net wide and far. I'm intrigued to know what we do though with the front three and how we view Mbeumo and how we view Cunha in terms of what their roles will be within the front three. Little bit of a bar there for you, David. I hope you like it. Not one of my best, but decent one. But yeah, I'm intrigued by it. So yeah, I'm not married to. Again, I want Gyökeres the most. I want that out and out number 9. But I also think that the manager has demonstrated at Sporting and so far at United that he will change things up in terms of the way he utilised Garnacho when he played in the 10 versus Bruno or Ahmad was very different in terms of the spaces they picked up. So he has that adaptability. The formation's always the same, but there is adaptability within the roles depending on the personnel. So let's see how this one transpires. Viewers, give us your thoughts. This here from I Will Drink Arteta's Sweat for Free says, now that United play only 1 game a week, you reckon Jim will make the players do part-time work in the construction of the new stadium to save money? I mean, it's not just that. I think you'll have them cleaning. I think you'll have them working in the canteens. I think all those things will happen to, save the football club money. I think you're absolutely right there, my friend. It will be, it's full on.
They'll be taking the kit home after the match day to wash it.
Yeah. It'll be the captain's job every game to bring the oranges in for half time. Yeah, 110%. I think you're right there. I think you're on to something there. Mr. Man who will drink another man's sweat. I appreciate
your as well.
Super chat.
It's not even like it. It's not even like it's a good bet.
Yeah, he's not even like an OnlyFans thing. This is I will drink man's sweat for free, bruv. Do you know what I'm saying? So thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Mama Flossie, for encouraging everybody to get the like button hit. Let's get that done now. Let's get this shared. I don't think YouTube has sent out notifications for this. So get this shared in the group chats. Get this pushed out there to as many people as you can. Sticking with Manchester United, but it kind of touches upon, well, at least one of your teams, is Alejandro Garnacho. There's talk that he will go for somewhere in the region of 60 to 70 million. Chelsea's still with the most likely destination, according to Fabrizio, but Tottenham and Aston Villa also now showing interest in the man. Where do you think he's going to end up, boys?
That man has got Crystal Palace. No. That man has got Nottingham Forest written all over him when they sell Elanga for 50 mil. That's not a bad shout, He's just not good. Like the only reason I'd let Chelsea sign him was if he was available for 30 mil. 20 mil, 30 mil. You know what? I could stomach it. But 70, you're having a laugh. You don't even want to be there. You don't even want him to be there. Amram said, leave, don't come back.
Amram said, you best hope there's a club that wants you. It wasn't even like, we're going to have to let you go. It was like there is no one at this club who wants you. And I don't think there's many clubs out there that want you, so you best hope there's someone there.
Exactly. He's going to be in an under-18 squad if he's not careful. So why on earth am I going to be paying 70 mil? There's no way on this earth, bro.
If it's your though.
No, it's not. No,
he's homegrown. He's fast.
No.
He fits the age profile for Chelsea.
There is breaking news, though. Sorry, guys. Sorry. There's breaking news from L'Equipe, very credible French outlet. Have said Chelsea's officials have made a move for Malick Fofana. £42 million is the asking price from Lyon. He's the 20-year-old winger. Malick Fofana came on very dangerous against Manchester United. Talk that Chelsea, from L'Equipe, who are very credible with French news, that is who Chelsea may make a move for. So potentially Gittins, potentially Malick, maybe both. Another young player. I mean, Garnacho certainly fits the ballpark, though. He's not on massive wages, only 50 grand a week. He's young. Most of the players you're being linked to at the minute are all still in that 20-year-old range, aren't they?
Yes, but the whole point of our MO is that we try and sign the most promising of these 21-year-olds. Garnacho is not that. He's not, okay? Just because you're 21 years old and you play football, that doesn't mean Chelsea will sign you. No. We're not doing this.
He's got European pedigree.
No, stop it. Because by this logic,
in the European final as well.
I have to then go and sign Dinamo Zagreb's best right back for 20 because he's 21 and he's on 5k a week.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
I don't want him.
Yeah.
I don't want him. If I've genuinely never heard of the bloke, like he's like I can't. If I type him in FM and I've got to add in an add-on to have him in the game, right? That means I shouldn't sign him.
You're gonna load an extra league and wait a year for him
I've
to
got
load
an
in.
extra league that I shouldn't sign him. Okay, that whole point is that we sign the elite of the elite, the Andre Santoses of this world. Do you know what I mean? That's the level. The Matt Kenny's of this world. That's what we're talking about. Garnacho is not that guy. He's not. And what doesn't even make sense is that he's not as good as any of our wingers, yet he'd be signed for more money than all of them.
Whoa. He is.
Oh, yeah,
He's
got
not.
a push. He's got a push.
Oh my God, have a day off. He's not better than any of our wingers. He's not.
He's better than Mudryk.
No, he's not. No, he is not.
Yes, he is.
No, he is.
No. Before Mudryk got caught, Mudryk was he was looking at something.
Yeah, but you got to remember. I said this to Don the other day. Don't sound like delusional. Me and delusional Don, we were having a mid-off, right, about who's the worst signing out of Højlund and Mudryk. And as I said, Højlund helped us win trophies, score more goals. And everything he was saying about, but he was turning it round and was doing this and getting better. Yes, he was getting better whilst on performance-enhancing drugs. Like, at the end of the day, it's a madness.
Terry. Until I see that B sample, I'm going to believe he's innocent. Because that guy was... Those 45 minutes he gave me against Liverpool, I'll never forget them.
Oh my God.
It was against James
Milner. I thought I had Hazard back. I'm going to believe in him.
It was against Milner, man. Come on.
That's
a shame.
Anyway, besides the point, Garnacho doesn't fit what we want to do. So I still don't get the links. I really hope we just sign anybody else. But Malick Fofana is someone who I'm actually very excited about because I think he's a profile that we don't have in the squad currently. He's a very good dribbler, causes a lot of issues, and I think he can get a lot better.
Sounds like you're describing Garnacho there, Sound like you're describing Garnacho a little bit there, good dribbler, causes problems.
No. Do you know the thing is, I never watch. I don't think I watch Garnacho and go like, that's where I see it. I remember when Chelsea were interested in Anthony Gordon, and I was telling everyone, no, Anthony Gordon, I see it because when he's get the ball at his feet, everyone's scared. Everyone's doing this, doing that. The only time people are scared of Garnacho is when it's like the 75th minute and the opposing right back is like 35 and he's got no legs. Like, I'm just like, no one is scared of Garnacho.
You're just basically talking about
of course right there.
Well, you are. You're scared of getting him. Like, it very much sounds like you are scared of Garnacho. Terry, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's like a meme of like a believable player. That's what Garnacho is. He's just like, I don't know how to describe it to you, but it's like, he's not unbelievable. He's a believable player. He's very believable.
He's in this world. He is in this world.
Struck comfort into the heart of defenders.
Yeah, exactly. He's just not. Nothing about Garnacho fills me with like.
We do realise where Garnacho's going, though, don't we?
Napoli.
No, Tottenham. You think Tottenham are gonna look at Grealish? They're gonna go, no, we can't do that. And then Garnacho's price is gonna come down a little bit to like 55, 60. And they're going to go, ooh, Thomas Frank.
No, but they're getting Tell, though, no?
They'll just play Tell up top. Watch him.
They got Solanke up top.
I wouldn't.
This is Daniel Levy getting the chance to buy a Manchester United footballer.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was to happen, because I think the way Levy could look at it this is Levy perspective only. Garnacho, because he's at Man United and he's played for Argentina, this guy has a massive following. This guy would be seen in his eyes as like marquee. We're taking a young talent away from United. The maddest bit is, though, I think he does very well at Tottenham. I think he does very well at Tottenham. The way they're going to play football under Frank, I think he'll do brilliantly and he'll get what he wants. He'll be at a club that kind of matches his ego. Like Garnacho is almost like the footballing version of a Tottenham. The ego's bigger than the ability and the delivery. And I know that, but it's true. It's true.
I wish Henry was here when he said that.
He should have got here on time then. He's 8 minutes later than he said he would be. Spurs beat us fair and square in that final, and I have to hold that L. But I'm not talking about winning a final against a shit Man United team, right? And they deserve to beat us. I'm talking about they're the only team I've ever seen go on a good opening, a good opening 10 games under a new manager, and suddenly start. Not just they didn't write the articles, but they pushed the "We're not Spursy anymore. This is the new Fergie." Every time a player breaks through, it's going to be the new Bale. The level of the way they, and look, they've got a right to be a little more arrogant this summer because they won a trophy and fair play. But the way I hear Spurs fans, forget me and my club in this, the way I hear them speak to Chelsea fans and Arsenal fans and City fans and Liverpool fans, you would think they were on par in terms of winning in the last 40 years. The point I'm making is they're a big club, Tottenham, but the way they talk is like they're the other team that plays in all white Real Madrid. Garnacho is very similar. He's a very good talent, but I think the way he behaves is as though he thinks he's Cristiano Ronaldo when he isn't at that point. Well, he'll never get to that level in my view. But yeah, I think they'd be a good match for each other in terms of the arrogance. I do.
I just think it's going to be a case of they're looking at Heung-min Son's not got much longer left. They need a left-sided player coming in soon. Matthias Tell isn't necessarily that perfectly. Richarlison's probably going to move on. Chance to get a young winger in who can work under a manager like Thomas Frank, who's renowned for developing these young players. He just needs the right environment to get himself figured out in. I think that's the kind of gamble Daniel Levy takes. And then in 2 years' time, we're sitting there going either, he's doing all right for himself, or it's a case of he was never really that good to begin with, and he's shipped off to like Betis on loan, and he hopes to do an Anthony 2.0. He screams Tottenham to me. I wish it was Chelsea, but he just screams Tottenham to me.
I hear. I think
especially if they're not getting Mbeumo.
It could happen. This here from Michael is a good afternoon. Good morning from Alberta in Canada. Good morning to yourself and good afternoon to everybody else around the world. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. The arrogance from a United fan. But this is the thing. We are in the mud right now. We got beat in a final by Tottenham, and I'll take that all on the chin. But I'm not speaking about isolation of 1 year. Football isn't reduced and boiled down to what's happened very recently. I'm talking by and large. Do you know where I get my view that Spurs act above their station? My dad, who's a Tottenham fan, who he just moans about it all the time. It's, oh my God, he's win a couple of games. And it's one of the reasons he stopped going to matches. He said, we win a couple of games. He goes, you'd be in the pub afterwards and everybody would be talking, we're better than this team now. We're doing this now. There was a time back in, I think it was 05 or 06. Spurs started the season and were like 3 or 4 games unbeaten. This is no word of a lie. My dad come home, one of the last games he went to, fuming. It was after the fucking crowd started chanting Invincibles. So I'm getting hooked from my dad, who's at the games, who's been a Spurs fan for 70 years. So it's not about me being an arrogant United fan. It's what I see. We all saw the way that the young Daniels and the Harrys were at the beginning of last season. No other fan base has ever come on here and done that. None.
Terry, you got to remember, they started better than the Invincibles did.
But
they have more points than the Invincibles did after 10 games.
This is the thing. It's like, it's not about me being arrogant as a United fan. It's me reflecting what's been. Of course, there are idiot Man United fans and idiot City fans and idiot fans and all fan bases. And not every Spurs fan fits into that category. I'm just talking about the general consensus. And Spurs right now, they can banter Man United all they want. They beat us in a final. And, up until the next season starts, that's cool. That's fine. But in the grand scheme of things, one of my Spurs mates, he's a really good guy, Dean. Hope you're watching. Hope you're well, mate. His friend from school. He's like, he bantered me about it, had a bit of a laugh, and he sort of stopped. And I said, no banter today. He went, right, in the grand scheme of things, mate. He says, you've won more FA Cups than we've had adult dinners. He goes, let alone everything else. He went, there's only so far I can banter you. Do you know what I'm saying? It's, and there's a truth to it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, imagine you're a salesman at work, right? And every year running, we're all salespeople at a company. Every year, David is top salesman. And in 1 month, I beat him. How long can I live on beating him for 1 month when he wins every year? In comparison, that's what I mean by it. There is just an element of there's a match there. There's a match. I'm telling you, there really, really is. But give us your views, people, ladies and gentlemen, on that now. Can you say the same thing with expressions around? Just asking. Well, look, listen, expressions would rip me because expressions is one of the best wordsmiths. What's the word? wordsmiths that I've ever heard in my life. And he would say something funny and everyone would go, "Oh, cooked." And it would be funny. He's a very, very great content creator. He is hilarious. But again, when the comedic element drops away in the cold, hard reality, every Spurs fan, they get to keep their players and everything stays the same. If they could swap my success and their success, and they had to give up this fucking Europa League, they're swapping a heartbeat to have the memories that Man United fans have, that Chelsea fans have, that Arsenal fans have, that Liverpool have, that City have. And you can take the piss out of me and make jokes about me and say I'm old and fat, or I've had I've done this, I've done that, I had a hair transplant. You can rip into me all you want, call me flowers instead of flewers, but none of that changes the reality. Do you know what I mean? None of it changes the difference around what I'm saying. And by the way, Expressions is actually one of the least arrogant Tottenham fans you ever meet in your life. He ain't like those other guys. So at the end of the day, there is a truth to it. Hello, Henry. I was just talking about your club cashing a lot of checks that often having a bigger arrogance than your ability warrants.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much our fan base to a T.
Hey, see, look, it's like I knew.
Everyone thinks we're bigger than we are. Everyone thinks that we're this elite football club, and we've won 2 trophies in 25 years. So I don't really get why.
But you got Beyonce.
Yeah, man.
That's the biggest star we've had in the stadium.
In London, you got the best stadium in London, one of the best stadiums in the UK. You got everything going for you guys, man. Like
they get the boxing, they get the F1, they get the concerts. None of our clubs can say that. I don't have an F1 track at my stadium. I mean, I've got 20.
Hey, Tom, respect. Taylor Swift sang at Anfield, man.
Yeah, but where's our F1 track?
But in terms on a real level, on a real level, Henry, what do you make of the permanent signing of Tell? Happy with that?
I mean, the sample size we've seen of him isn't huge. He's had a few good games for us. Hasn't scored a bundle of goals, but I think they said 35 million euros, which is what, 30 million quid. It's not horrendous business. I mean, when we were first quoted 60 million pound, I was like, you're having a laugh. But you know, I really want Semenyo, and I think this has kind of put that deal to bed. I don't think we're signing 2 left wingers this window. We've also got, Odebear. We've got Son, who was obviously a left winger. But in terms of the business, I mean, he's got a lot to prove, but he's been there 6 months and won a European trophy. So he's sitting there, he's laughing, isn't he? He's just moved to London. He's got a big pay rise. He's going to get consistent game time, but he's got to prove himself now. I think Son will leave, if I'm being brutally honest. And I think he'll probably cement that left wing position with Johnson and Solanke. But Thomas Frank's definitely got his work cut out with that front line. Because
so what you're telling me, Henry, is there's a potential left wing spot opening up, and Tottenham are losing one of their biggest commercial revenues in Heung-min Son.
Mm-hmm.
And just before you got here, we were talking about a certain man who's got a big ego, who's leaving his football club this season, and who Tottenham and Daniel Levy would take in a heartbeat because of, we can fix him. How highly you do realize that your club are going to sign Alejandro Garnacho this summer?
It's going to be Tottenham or Arsenal, I think. One of us is going to...
Arsenal?
Yeah.
No way.
Don't put Arsenal... Don't try and drag Arsenal into this.
Player. And I don't think we'll sign Garnacho. I think we'll have... I think the one they want to get was obviously Brian Mbeumo, but now he's going to go to Man United. So the second option is Semenyo, but Semenyo wants Champions League football, so it's probably going to be us, maybe Arsenal. But Garnacho, if we spend 50, 60 million pounds on him, then Daniel Levy needs to resign on the very same day, because that's worse than Richarlison. That'd be the worst signing in terms of value for money in our club's history.
No, I think Richarlison worse.
You know what?
He ain't worth 60 million pounds.
No, but Richard had at least had like a record of doing something. Like,
what did he do?
He actually, like, I want to say he scored like 10, 15 goals in a Premier League season. I want to say he's done that.
He has. He's got double digits 3 seasons.
Yeah, exactly. He had a proven record of doing stuff. 50 mil was an overpay, but he still had a record of doing stuff.
Yeah, the record
Garnacho's done
man.
nothing.
The thing is, whenever we spend money...
Richarlison killed himself keeping Everton up that year. Like, Richarlison's body was fucked, and no one really knew it at the time, apart from him and Everton. That's why when Tottenham came in with like 50 million, they didn't ask for much more than that. They're like, look, if we'll get him gone. We'll get all the money we can. And his body's just going to fall apart. Garnacho doesn't have those injury problems yet.
When we signed Richarlison, it was like it was coming off the back of a good season. We still had Harry Kane. So as a backup, number 9, it's not horrendous. But then now we've got Solanke, who, I do like Solanke, but I'm thinking if Richarlison goes and we're potentially bringing in Garnacho, I mean that for me, whenever we spend money, when it comes to a big signing, Ndombele was 50 million. He turned out to be a howler of a signing. Richarlison, 50 million, another howler. Davinson Sanchez, 45 million. It's only recently with like Van der Ven and Maddison, we've actually got it right. I mean, Brendan Johnson for 50 million, all right, he's won us the Europa League. But overall, as a package, other than a back post tapping, what else are you offering me sort of thing? So like imagine a front line of Garnacho.
Garnacho offers you something different. He's got an overhead kick in his locker.
But Garnacho's better than Brendan Johnson overall. The problem that he's had
is he?
No, he is. He is. No, he is because he has more to his game and he can beat a man. His decision making isn't the greatest at times. There are times where he should just use the man on the overlap or he should cross. But he does score some very, very good goals. He can, Brendan Johnson, as you say, it's knock it past the opponent and run and tap in at the back post. Garnacho does more. The issue that you've seen with Garnacho is I think why his development stalled is one, we shouldn't have kept Ten Hag, and I think the whole squad was just on a downer at the end of his time he was there and he's young. I also think that the way we want our 10s to now operate doesn't suit him. However, he wants to be out wide. He wants to be a touchline winger that can cut in and shoot and score. And I think in the right system, he'll develop and get better. Because when he first broke into the Man United team, look, I'm not saying he's Ronaldinho on the ball. I'm not saying he's got the best technique in the world. I'm not saying he's got the best dribbling skills in the world. But when he first broke onto the scene, there was a player that looked like he could become dangerous. What he hasn't had at Manchester United is any stability. I think a manager like Thomas Frank, I think a manager like Mikel Arteta, because you've mentioned Arsenal, I think they get the very best out of him because he may not be a player that can play left, can play right, can play in the middle, can become a striker. I just think he could be a very good wide player for a team. The only reason that I really want him gone, there is the problem he's got with, there's some attitude issues and everything else. But I think another dressing room would sort that out. It's because we just don't need a player like him anymore. That's not the system that we're playing. And the one thing I've always said about United, if and when we get a manager to build a system, a genuine footballing system, there was always going to be a player or two, whether I like them or not, who were casualties because we were such a mismatch and a Frankenstein squad that there were going to be certain players that just didn't fit what we were trying to do, and he's one of them. I think he's a much better... I think only 2 players of his age and younger in the whole of Europe's top 5 leagues scored and assisted more than him last year, and he had a bad season, and he missed lots of great chances. A confident Garnacho, I think, could do well for a team like Tottenham. I really, really do think he could do well for you.
Do you not think... Look, he's got ability, but do you not think from Tottenham's perspective, we've already got Mikey Moore, who's the club are like holding on to with 2 arms. We've got Odebear. We've got this young Korean player. We've got Son. We've got Johnson. We've got Richarlison will play out there. And we've just signed Tell. So if it was a cut price of, say, £30 million, yeah, I'd sign him. But I'm seeing reports today, 60, 50, 70, all these different numbers flying around. And Tottenham still, for the 4th seasons in a row, have not got a defensive-minded midfielder. If we go and spend 100 plus on Garnacho and Tell, like I'm sitting and scratching my head. You got Belieber at Brighton, who's apparently available for 60 million quid. I'd much rather bring him in and have a more stable midfield with Maddison and Bergvall.
Yeah, listen, I understand that, but I also think he's better than Richarlison.
Sorry, how much did you say Belieber was available for?
60 mil.
No chance they sell Belieber for 60 million quid.
I think it's higher than that. And
well, it might be more, but who knows for fucking Twitter. But even if it's 80 million quid, I'd still go and pay that. Because
I hear the point. You'd rather.
Batuma's probably going to go Saudi, right? And if we can get any for more than 15 million quid, we've had a right touch. Son's probably going to go Saudi. And I think at this point in Son's career, probably makes sense. You just won a trophy. You're 33 in July. Fair enough. You've been in a club for 10 years. Then you look at the midfield going, Sar's the one we need to build around. I think if you've got Bergvall and Sar, that's a very, very good partnership. But there's injury problems with our midfield. And you've got a player at Brighton who's 70, 60, 70, 80 million quid. I think would be.
I hear a lot of what you're saying, and logically, a lot of it makes sense. I still think with one of your stars and shirt sellers going, there's a prospect here of buying a United Academy player that's been deemed a failure with a massive following. If you can bring him in and get him playing well, all those pretend United fans are like, I'm leaving if Garnacho leaves. You'll pick all of them up. There'll almost be this element of great PR for your club if he starts playing well for you, but United let him go. I think those are the things that would make it a potential. I'm not saying that is at the forefront of Levy's mind, but I do think he's the kind of man who can be, say you're and ahhing. I think the right salesman showing him that side of the game could convince him to go, oh, one up on United. We could get one of the, this could be like signing a young Beckham that Fergie didn't want and turning him into the Beckham we all knew. Your ownership think in that
From a commercial perspective,
commercial PR and sort of the conversation piece is very, very important to the way your club operates. So I can see it. I also see Arsenal, if they're not successful in their other moves. Let's go to some of the super chats here. First one says Garnacho is way better than the panel were making out. He's shown his potential and is in a good system surrounded by quality. He would cook. I think he's a lot better than people are making out. I do. He just ain't right for United anymore. We saw that with Rashford. He washed, goes to Villa, and everyone's like, oh, fucking hell, United, why'd you let him go? It'll be one of those, I'm telling you. Choose one of these for your team's 11 for the first game of the season. The Liverpool guy does not have to answer. Okay.
Which one?
David Silva, Sergio Aguero, or company?
Sergio Aguero. Imagine
Aguero.
going from Solanke to Prime Aguero.
Aguero. We don't need David Silva because we've got Cunha and we've got Bruno. We don't need company because we've got Lenny Yoro, so we don't need him. Do you know what I mean? That's a bit of a joke, right? I'm joking. But no, I go for it. My club needs goals.
I would love David Silva. I would love David Silva.
By the way,
don't need him.
I was watching Michael Carrick at Soccer Aid last night, and I was like, he's still so good at what he does. I know he's playing against like celebrities and everything else, but he's also old. I was watching him move the ball, and I was like, oh, I miss having a midfielder like him. Oh, it was great watching it. And listen, it was like United. It was like a United Legends game last night. You know what I mean? Carlos Tevez come on and took the piss. He actually tried, didn't he? Like I thought about Carlos Tevez. He's clearly been getting those injections, isn't he, as well? He's on those fat injections because he weren't that slim in his pomp. And obviously he's retired now. I bet he's on those fat injections. I bet he is.
I mean, he tried to start a fight with Angry James, didn't he? And I was like,
Angry James took him out.
Yeah.
Angry James took him out. Yeah. I can't believe as well. Listen, Paddy McGuinness could never play in goal. That shot from Big Zoo, I was happy for him because he's a good guy. But how the hell that went in is ridiculous to win the game as well. It's crazy. Okay, we'll come back to some of these questions a little bit later. We'll do this question now. What is the worst refereeing decision ever?
The penalty in the Champions League final against Liverpool.
Oh, it's a handball, mate.
Yeah, I wasn't even
handball.
going to mention anything about club football, Henry, but you decided to talk about Tottenham.
Mate, he hit his armpit. I mean, that's not handball. If that was in today, that would not be handball. That was 2 years ago, it wouldn't be handball. If it was 4 years ago, it would be handball. It was a rule for one fucking season, and it was bollocks. And
hold on. So what you tell me, Henry, is by the rules at the time, it was a handball, and yet you're calling it the worst referee.
Who was on the other end of that against Real Madrid, and that was Vinny who put that in, and it was the rat. It was Trent who handballed it. You would have been going
definite penalty. That rat deserves nothing good.
Okay, let's say it's Conor Bradley. Okay. You'd be going berserk.
What's the worst one that you've seen, Tom?
I'd probably say. Do you know what one? I know it didn't really affect the game much, but how Nigel de Jong didn't get sent off for booting Xabi Alonso in the chest in that World Cup final when the referee's like 3 yards away from it and watches the whole thing still blows my mind. In fact, he's went for the ball. All right.
Well, I thought you were going to mention when Nigel de Jong broke, what was his name? Ben Arthur's leg. And it was just seen as a good. I mean, he does get the ball first, but the way the follow through happened and he breaks his leg. I remember watching it live going, oh, that's a red card. No, he didn't even get booked. It wasn't even given as a foul. And I was like, fuck me. What about yours, David? Worst refereeing decision you've seen?
Do you know what? I'm not going to do a Chelsea one because I think it's just like I'm going to be biased. I genuinely,
really?
no. In recent history, I think that the Villa disallowed goal is terrible. I think that was awful. Like
Which one?
Like,
The
last game of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, you've picked that Villa one, but you could have picked. You could go the other way and go the one they got. The stop them getting relegated a few years earlier was even worse.
That was the one I thought you were talking about.
That was like our camera's not working. That's not really That's not really the referee's fault. If they can't verify.
No one going to say England versus Germany.
No,
that was terrible.
That was. I was thinking of that one, but I think that Villa.
It was bad. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to do 1-4-1 against United. The one against it, for us, was when Maguire kicked. I don't remember who he kicked in your team. He kicked him in the balls. I still to this day, when he did it, it was like how he got away with that.
How that was not a red.
That was one of those. Since VAR, we've all had that feeling when you see it and you go, "Oh, we got away with that," and you go, "Oh no, VAR! I thought he was done." The one that went against us, though, there's a few, right? There's obviously the Porto goal that would have stopped Jose doing a treble. We'd have gone on to win it that year as well, I think. There was another one that was in my head. It's absolutely gone now. The Drogba offside that gave you guys the win. Again, we would have won the Premier League that year and done a 4-peat. An offside by like a foot. There was like a foot of air and they didn't give it. We'd have won a 4-peat without that, which is absolutely massive. There was one other one in my mind. Obviously, there's the Real Madrid Nani red card again, just ridiculous. By the way, we paid for refs in this era, by the way, people. We paid for refs in this era.
Do you remember the Nani offside goal against us?
No, it wasn't an offside goal. It was a handball goal.
Tom.
I was at that game, and it was because the referee said play on and didn't blow his whistle. In fairness, it was legit because the referee gave a free kick to you guys, didn't blow his whistle, and then just went play on. Everyone went backed away, and I was sitting there by the halfway line. I could hear Skull shouting, "Nani, go put the ball in." The game made me stop. Put the ball in, and Nani was like looking at Skulls like he was talking Swahili, and then he went over and tapped the ball in. It was because the referee didn't blow for the foul. He just said, like he went to, and then all the United players walked away, and he said, "Just play on," which happens all the time in football matches, right? Free kicks, referees are about to blow, and they say play on, and then your goalkeeper just stood there with the ball for about 5 minutes and didn't touch it. It was so fucking funny. It's amazing that game.
Do you know another one? Do you know one for Liverpool? I'm not going to say the Diaz one because we all know about that one. 13-14 against Man City away. Raheem Sterling is about 5 yards onside, and he gets called offside.
Wait.
If I can find the photo, I'll show you how far onside he is. And the ref's flag goes up straight away, and he takes it down the keeper and scores. Yeah, is this it?
That Romero Cucurella one from a few years ago at the bridge.
Oh, that was
funny. Chelsea have some really funny ones. The one where we relegated Neil Warnock. When Aspilicueta is 10 yards offside.
Mate.
He's so offside. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, there's so many in every direction. Like United have had some. I remember that. I mean, it didn't change anything. But what is that we're putting on the screen? We're not playing it, are we?
No, it's just the stare. That's how far onside he was, and the ref said offside straight away.
Wow, yeah, that's horrendous.
There's a
horrendous
full
decision.
Raheem Sterling between you to even get to the defender, and he went no.
Yeah, no, there's been. I mean, Man United. There was a time where our goalie basically caught the ball and then dropped it in his own net. It was over the line by about 2 foot against Spurs, Mendes, and it wasn't given. And I mean, that was the era where you got some and you lost some, if that makes sense. I think as well. We played Chelsea in an FA Cup final, and this barely gets mentioned. I want to say this is an extra time, but ball came in. Giggs gets touches the ball, and him and the goalkeeper kind of slide over the line. No contact from Giggs. It was the direction they were going in. Ball's clearly over the line because there's no goal line technology. It weren't given, and again, United would have gone on to win the FA Cup.
Wembley one? Yeah,
that was the first game in the new Wembley. Yeah, in 2007 that was, and yeah, just crazy. Like again, you win some, you lose some in these moments. I'd like one going our way in a major final. That'd be nice, when you really need it. Do you know what I mean? But there we go. Loads in there. Beat a Premier League defender in a one-on-one. You win 10K. Which defender do you choose? Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Emerson Royale.
I mean, as much as that, does it have to be current or can it be past?
It can be anyone, can't it?
Titus Bramble.
Give me Alberto Moreno.
No, you wouldn't want Titus Bramble because Titus Bramble, compared to all of us, maybe other than David, because David is very quick, is very big and very quick. It'd be hard to get round. With Trent, he ain't that quick. He ain't that strong. You can put it through his legs and he gives up anyway because he's ready. Because as you guys told us, as you boys told us for 5 years, he doesn't defend because he's waiting for the counter attack. So remember, you all said that.
Say Alberto Moreno because he got that recovery.
Who is the slowest?
No, but Moreno
Per
was diving.
Mertesacker
wasn't weak though. Mertesacker wasn't weak.
No. I can just run around him. I'll do it with a foot race. No problems. No problems.
The thing is, I'd go Moreno.
Would you like to try and take on Pete Gary Neville?
David would love to pick on Pete Gary Neville.
Do you know what? I think I could do it.
This is why I'm asking. Because you're all showing your age. You wouldn't. Do you know why? Because if you were getting the best of him, he's in an era where he'd break your ankles. It's what he did to like Reyes and people. That's why you wouldn't. Like that generation.
If he breaks my ankles, then I've won.
No, but that's not in his era. In his era, they say play on.
You're sat there lying on the floor, ankle facing the wrong way, going.
I tell you, I wouldn't want to tackle from. I wouldn't want to receive a tackle from Julian Dix. Man like Julian Dix. You kids don't even know about these players. Animals, mate, animals. Anyway, look, we're gonna move on and get back to some of the transfer talk on the show today. Yeah, Mustafi would have been a funny one. No, someone says Skirtle. Now, Skirtle was a decent defender. You wouldn't want to go against him. No,
Skirtle was one of those ones who would, if you were getting past it, it's because he's dived in too early and missed you, so you can just walk past him.
I hear that. Some news coming out of Spain this afternoon that Nico Williams is aware. So we know that Plattenberg and many have put this out, that Barcelona currently have the best chance in the race for Nico Williams. That's the truth. Chelsea, Arsenal, Bayern Munich also interested in him. However, reports in Spain have said that Williams is aware that Luis Diaz is still the priority. He's just more expensive than Nico Williams, and he's prepared to take a wage cut to join Barcelona. It's also reported that Arsenal, meanwhile, this is what the quote is here, that they are bidding hard for the player and offering a 9 million euro net annual salary. So you're talking somewhere in the region of around 13 to 14 million pounds a year gross level of income for the player, which neither Barca or Bilbao can match. So it is reported that Arsenal are making a big play financially to sign the player, who is probably on and off now. I know there's the Rodrigo links, but on and off for the past, I'd say 12 months has been the number one target for Arsenal on the left-hand side. Is he worth that level of investment in your opinion? So 9 million net is around 7 million net a year. So you're probably looking, as I say, you're probably looking at around 12 to 13 £1 million a year in gross, which means they've offered him a deal of around, they reckon around £250,000 a week, which is more than the other clubs have currently offered him. Is he worth that investment from Arsenal? Is it right for them to put in this big bid?
I quite like him. I think that his numbers have never really been that of an elite winger yet. But whenever I've watched him play for Spain, he's always looked really good, really dynamic, really threatening. And what you've got on the right hand side with Saka, who is, he's got the quality of pass, he's got the delivery, he's got the quality of finishing. Not saying Nico Williams doesn't have that, but it's nice to have the dynamic on the other side of someone who's pure pace and pure dribbling quality and can beat his man constantly. And if they were adding, if they've got Calafiori behind them, or they've got I think the link with Gerald Hato and stuff, and they've got Rice crashing into the box up from the left hand side and stuff. It makes sense for your left hand side winger to be, they don't need to be this fantastic creator who can pick out a pass in the way Saka can do. They need to be a bit of a specialist at beating the man and getting the ball to the players arriving late. So I quite like him for that. I do think 250k a week is a bit expensive, but it's also, that's going to be the problem buying from Bilbao, because they can only have a set group of players. They can afford to give these set group of players very high wages in an attempt to keep them. And Williams isn't going to take a pay cut to leave Bilbao. So it depends what way you want to look at it. I mean, Jesus is on 250 grand a week, and I think he's better than Jesus. So if they want to look at it in that way, it's not a bad little deal. So I think it would be a pretty decent pickup for for Arsenal. I really do. I think he's the kind of left wing that they need to partner with Saka on the right.
It's like 250k a week. Like nowadays, I mean, it's like a mid to high end level Premier League player. And as you just said, if Jesus is already on that, I mean, I think he'll do well. But I do think if they're going to have two creative wingers, they need a Gyökeres in the box. I don't think you get Nico Williams and have Sesko. I don't think that's the most complete front line they're going to have. But if they can offer more wages than Barcelona, I know Barca have obviously got Lamine Yamal there, who's obviously one of his close friends, and Rafinha's been doing up these Instagram stories as well. So obviously Plettenberg said that there's an offer on the table from Barca, but Arsenal have to make a statement. I mean, you boys are about to announce Florian Wirtz probably in the next week or so. You've also got pretty much Kirkes done. You've got Frimpong done. City have replaced that midfield and brought in Cherki and a decent left back now, so they can put Vardy back at left-sided centre-back. They've got to go out and make a statement, because at the moment, City are the biggest threat to your title going into next season. Now that midfield is, pretty much ready to go for next season. If they don't bring in a Gyökeres alongside a Rodrigo and Williams, I don't think they're as strong right now as you or City. They have to make that statement. And what's he got? A 55 million euro release clause? I mean, this is, what's that? 47, 48 million pounds in today's market. I mean, that's less than we pay for Dominic Solanke. Yeah, he's going to have high wages, but the actual transfer fee isn't even that bad, which then leaves you more money left over for a Gyökeres or a Sesko, because if they do go and get Rodrigo, it's probably going to be 70, 80 million pounds, 100 million euro deal. So whoever it is they're going to bring in, they've got to pull their finger out and get something rolling soon, because I know they've got all these talks with Sesko, but Gyökeres isn't like, it's changing a lot. So, but yeah, Williams, I think he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, for Arsenal's win now, we must do it next season. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be an absolute flop. They need to seriously sort themselves out, just because it's meant to be their year next year. It was meant to be their year the past 2 years. So this is really this has to be it. It really does.
What makes it look like a flop for you?
It's just that I don't feel like they're really who they are trying to sign doesn't match their ambition of what they're trying to do, in my opinion. Because to me,
so if they got Williams and Gyökeres, is that not?
So if they got Williams and Gyökeres, then that is what they should be doing. However, the way they're going about it is not a serious manner. Again, to me, they shouldn't be signing Sesko, not because he's a bad player, but because he needs time to develop, and they don't have development time. They've got to win tomorrow. So in your win tomorrow season, you want to do everything as early as possible. Get them in the training facility, get them learning everything, so that on day one of the season, you are ready to go. You don't have to be at 100%, but at a good 90%, 85%, you should be going for it. But and right now, I don't feel like Arsenal are going for it.
My pushback with that, Dave, is again, like we said this before. I think multiple people said this on the Top 6 show. The left winger market is just so dry. Like all the players, they're not of the quality. The only people that you can say that's of the quality are unattainable. Your likes of probably Rafinha, Mbappe, Vinny, those kind of players are just unattainable. The next level down is probably the likes of Williams and people like that.
Yeah,
these are the players that are available that are of the quality that could go up another level. And I think under a team like Arsenal, under a manager who Arsenal fans rave about so much, he can develop and go that next level further into being a top player. And
I'm not saying Nico Williams is bad. What I'm saying is that the way that they are going about their business doesn't, to me, look like they are going to try and win the league next year. To me, it looks like they're doing, we'll do it the year after again. And how many year afters do you have left before?
If you're a Liverpool fan right now,
years.
If you're a Liverpool fan right now and you're about to sign Wirtz and you're about to get Kirkes and you got Frimpong through the door and you're looking at a striker, you got to be thinking, surely it's another title coming.
I'm more worried about City than Arsenal at the minute.
And a DM, don't forget that.
I'm more worried about City than Arsenal. The thing that gets Nico Williams is good, And like I said, I think he's a good player. But if I'm looking at that Arsenal squad, I'm not sitting there going, God, they need a left winger. I'm sitting there going, God, they need a finisher. And to me, that's the one thing they're not. Again,
but they are
I'm
working on it. They're working on two at the same time.
I don't want to go down the. I don't want to go down the Sesko rabbit hole again. He's not a finisher. So again, it just feels like Arsenal are delegating the problem again. It's going to be a case where it's Arsenal sit there at the end of the season going, "Oh, if only we had someone who could put it in the back of the net more often."
If it was Nico Sesko,
Sesko, I don't think Sesko was a very good finisher at all.
No, but if it was Gyökeres instead of Sesko,
if it's Gyökeres, it's a different argument. This is someone who buries chances. This is someone who knows where.
So they brought in Gyökeres and Williams.
If they brought in Gyökeres and Williams, I'm a lot more scared. If they bring in Sesko and Williams, I'm nowhere near as scared. If they bring in just Sesko, I'm relaxed. I'm chilled. I'm enjoying life. I just think with Martinelli and Trossard, are they the upper echelon? No, they're not. And I'm not saying that Arsenal can't upgrade on them, but I think that it's not the problem area that Arsenal should be targeting right now. In terms of they need to go out and spend the big money and the big wages on a big number 9, not another left winger, because there's no point in having all these creators, because all I've heard all season is creators, and then we don't have anyone to finish. So what I don't see the point of is getting even more creators, even more of them, and then funneling them to a guy who can't finish very well. You need to address the problem and then go add more support pieces around them.
I still think they need a little bit more than just a striker and a left wing. I still think they need.
They need another creative mid.
I mean, Odegaard is more than enough. I think Wanyeri, you'll see a lot more Wanyeri next season, the season coming up. I don't think they need any more mid. I don't think maybe another midfield and a defender, utility defender that can play multiple positions will be enough for them.
See, I think you need another centre back as well. I think.
Just some breaking news to bring you guys whilst you guys have been chatting. I've just been updating it, but L'Equipe told you they're credible. David Ornstein has just tweeted and said that Chelsea have made a verbal inquiry to Lyon regarding Malick Fofana, the 20-year-old Lyon winger, amongst multiple options Chelsea consider amid Jadon Sancho exit. Nothing advanced for the Belgium international, but discussions continue. But you all know that when Ornstein starts to talk about a deal, I often think he's a bit of a, whenever you guys are all too young to remember when DVD players came out, but my dad said, don't buy one of the first ones because they'll become more fluent. They become better and cheaper as time goes on. That they release the new iPhone's already made, but yet they're not going to release it, right? They make their money. I always feel Ornstein's like that with the news. I always feel he's maybe a couple of days behind where the news really is, even though it's the truth. Does that make sense? So it does appear, David, that Malick Fofana is 100% a target for you guys now. It doesn't mention, I haven't read the article, it doesn't mention Gittins in the tweet, but if it's the Sancho replacement, maybe this is an alternative to Gittins as opposed to as well as Gittins.
Yeah,
Paul Mikhailo Mudryk.
Oh, it's a shame about Mudryk. However, again, it's a profile we don't have, and we've been missing it all year. Because one thing Mudryk did give you was the ability to run in behind and cause problems and take people one-on-one. And he's just a different type of winger. We've been missing that. No, he did. No, you man were not watching Mudryk like me. But anyway.
Yes, you're right, David. I wasn't watching Chelsea in the Conference League on a Thursday night. I wasn't.
No, you were not. And you missed out on this guy showing his improvements. He was balling out.
But what's interesting here with Ornstein said, though, it's very important to read this, is Chelsea made a verbal inquiry. As I've said, the Premier League club have made their interest known. He is amongst a number being considered and conversations are ongoing. So it doesn't say additional to Gittins. It just says after Sancho leaving, they're looking for a replacement. This is telling, though. It says a striker was another priority in the window, with Liam Delap arriving from Ipswich early this month. So Ornstein here, I'd like to ask him a question about it, but alluding to what Ben Jacobs said, that could be it for number 9 for Chelsea.
Yeah, that would. All I am, me personally.
Another season of Mark. We.
Hey. That's a serious baller right there. That kid in a couple of years.
This Conference League has inflated certain people's
says the
egos.
guy that was
About
waxing lyrical. It says the guy that was waxing lyrical about the fact he's getting Walter made from Stuttgart the other day.
What did I say? I wanted Walter made for the option off the bench, like a Giroud type kind of guy. Someone to come on and give you something different. That was my point about Walter made. That was my point. I'm just saying.
And now Mark Woo-Woo's going to be that guy.
What's wrong with Gooey?
Mark Gooey.
His name makes no sense. How am I supposed to say
Mark Gooey is a baller. I don't know what
Gooey.
6 goals in 6 experiences.
Gooey.
That's a serious. 18 years old. Baller. But anyway, for me personally, I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't throw the kids out of the bath. But I know some people are gonna be like, "Oh,
hang on.
Sorry.
You may not throw your baby out of the bath water. I wouldn't kick the kids out of the bath.
I'm not throwing the kids out of the bath."
Hang on, you ain't got kids. What are you doing, David? What are you up to?
But,
David is not good around kids though. We were out eating for dinner in Germany, and my kids were eating. David, we all finished our food, right? This ain't a weird story. It's funny. And my kids are still eating their dinner, and David sat there like a hawk watching. And I'm like, "What are you doing, David?" He goes, "If your kids don't finish that food, I'm taking it." But he didn't realize how greedy my kids were. They ate every morsel. David, I thought he was gonna cry.
I was disappointed. That chicken burger that got looked.
Oh, but them you remember them weird? They were weird shaped chips, but they were very nice in that place. Weren't they? Very nice.
Anyway,
yeah. Sorry.
The strategy of what Chelsea are doing, it makes sense. However, I would still be disappointed because I want a.
Can I ask you a question? Right? I get what you've said about Arsenal, that they need to try and win the league. They're there. Why don't you have that same energy for Chelsea in the sense of why are you not pushing for Chelsea to sign those ready-made players now in 2 or 3 positions so you could win the league?
Because I don't believe that we are at the same point as Arsenal.
But if you bought 3 or 4 ready-made players, you could be, right?
We could be. However, I think that would ruin what you're trying to build with the current crop of players.
How does that work?
So my point. No, right. Let me explain. My point
you
is
need to.
The way Chelsea are built right now is that Chelsea will not be ready, in my opinion, to win a league title for at least another year, maybe 2, depending on what we sign next season, right? However, I think if you sign the players too early, then you kind of ruin the opportunity because you're kind of pushing that squad along, and then the foundation that you built kind of disappears. However, if you wait and if you're more patient with it and then kick on, then I think it does better. I think you have to build the foundation before you kick on. I think Arsenal have that foundation now to the point where now they should be able to say, I want this 28-year-old, that 28-year-old, and that 28-year-old, and that's going to win us the league. Whereas I don't think if you added 4 experienced players to Chelsea tomorrow, I don't think we'd win the league.
But they'll help the youngsters grow. They'll learn.
It might do, but I don't think that's what my owners are going to do. I don't think that's what my owners are going to do. And so, but I'm quite okay with them doing it a different way. If they believe that we're going to build and build and build, and then the experience
this here says Clear Lake and Bowley's model isn't short term. They are stockpiling young talent with resale value with Enzo, Mudryk, Okechukwu, Santos type deals and banking on development over dominance. I get that, but it's not all deals are short termism. For instance, I'm not saying you needed Mbeumo on the right hand side for you. He's 26. But he's not a short-term option. You're still going to get 4, 5, 6 years out of him. Cunha, I'm not saying you need that role, but there are more players like that are 24, 25, 26 who are top quality players. As an example, there are strikers that are more developed than Delap. There are wingers that are more developed than Fofana that are not 30 years old and you're going to get 2 years out of them. I do think I get David's point, but I do think there's I think Fofana's an excellent talent. I think Gittins is an excellent talent. I really like Delap. I don't even think you're linked to bad players. But we all know with youngsters, they can come in and take a couple of years to even settle in it took, I know there was that first 6 months that Chelsea fans did up. but it took Enzo Fernandez, and I know you changed managers, which didn't help, but it took Enzo Fernandez a good 18 months to settle in England. It even took Caicedo a bit of time to go to Chelsea, settle in, and play his best football individually. And by the way, he started playing his best football at the back end of Poch's time, so it wasn't just the coaching. So that's the only thing. I just feel like Chelsea are not far away from being in a sustained title push, and I'm just not sure the talent's there with these young players. I just feel you could buy slightly older players that are of the same quality, but they're more ready to go now. I don't think that would undo your work. That's not like going out and signing 30-year-olds for 200 million.
I think with Chelsea, though, it's about timing. So if Chelsea go for it now and buy 3 world-class players now, the expectation is Chelsea have to win a league title because they've got all the pieces. But I don't think the rest of the squad is ready for that. So then what you run the risk of is having too high expectations for a squad that can't handle it, and then the young players get struggle and fall apart a little bit. I think Chelsea's whole thing is to wait another 2 years, get in this next crop of youngsters that they've had out on loan for a couple of years, like your Estevaos and that. And then that's the basis of the squad they'll have. At that point, they'll sit there and go, right, what position do we need? What position have we not managed to figure out? We still need a world-class striker? We'll go buy the world-class striker. We still need a world-class centre-back? We go buy the world-class centre-back. We still need the goalie? We'll buy the goalie. But they're waiting for all the pieces to be there so they can figure out where they want to go, rather than, right now we haven't got a good winger. Let's go buy a really good winger. And then Estevaos sat there going, but I'm coming in next year and I was going to be that position because you don't know where I'm going to be. So I think Chelsea's whole thing is to wait another year or two and then go big. What it does do, they've got a little bit of protection on that front now, but what it will do is when they go out and buy these world-class players, I think there'll be more pressure on Chelsea than I will have seen on pretty much any other team for a title, because of just that everyone will then go, now we've got to see it. Now we've got to see the title because this is the end of the brilliant 8-year, £2 billion project. Where's your title? So I think the pressure that Chelsea would have at that point will probably be the highest I've seen in a long time.
More breaking news. Sorry, David, to interject you, mate. I apologize. Coming from L'Equipe again in the last few minutes is that Tottenham have decided to accelerate talks with Alejandro. No, not really with him. With I want to pronounce his name right. Kalimuendo from Rennes.
Oh, Kalimuendo.
Kalimuendo. Is it? I pronounce Kalimuendo.
20
from
goals last year.
Rennes. 17, I think, in the league. But yeah, scored quite a lot of goals last season. L'Equipe, I mean, they've been right already. He had 18 goals and 4 assists. Young 23-year-old centre forward, can play in the wide position, but predominantly plays as a centre forward. Spurs, according to L'Equipe, have decided to accelerate talks.
Henry should be fuming, by the way, because he's not a defensive midfielder.
That tells me that Richarlison and Son both will probably be leaving if we're going to bring in Tell and this. You say he's 23?
23, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 17 league goals is a pretty good return. He's only on €28,000 a week, so he can comfortably improve his salary. But again, he's probably going to play out wide because of Solanke. So the question is he better than Brennan Johnson? Is he better than Tell? Based on those numbers, probably, yeah. So depends on what the fee is. But I'm happy that we've now we've got Frank and we're actually starting to move in the market.
What about 2 up top?
This is the thing. I think we will go. I think we'll go to a 4. I think we might even go 4-4-2, and have Bergvall and Sarr, Johnson on the right.
Okay, that does not.
Yeah, but I think in possession it will be more like a 4. It'll be like a 4-2-3-1 in possession. I think Maddison will start left mid, but in possession we'll go into a 4-2-3-1 with Sarr, Bergvall, Maddison in the 10, Johnson, potentially this is it Kalimuendo and then Solanke.
Why would you play a 4-4-2 just to not attack in a 4-4-2?
Because I'm interested. Well, Frank's best in possession teams sat back for the counter a lot. I think he'll change slightly with Spurs because our front line are very good on the counter, but I can't have another season where I've got Pedro Porro and Udogie playing as number 8s. He's not going to do that. So I think our possession will get in a 4-4-2.
I have a feeling you might go to a 5-back for year one,
which suits us to a T because Porro and Udogie are good wing backs.
I think you might see like a 5-3-2.
What, Archie Gray at centre back again?
No,
No,
I think
Danso.
It'll be
Oh,
Danso.
yeah, you got
Yeah,
Danso,
but
yeah.
Romero's gone, so we're looking at Branthwaite, and for 60 million quid,
You're
again,
not getting Jared Branthwaite. So
16
sorry.
or
He's
16?
not joining Tottenham.
0. No one else is in for him, Tom.
Oh, 6-0, 6-0.
Because Everton have said they're not for sale. If Everton start going, you know what? We'll sell Jared Branthwaite.
Yeah, but their
Better
financial
team than Tottenham
situation-
comes to the table for Jared Branthwaite.
Their financial situation isn't. They're just moving into a new
Yes.
ground. It's not brilliant, and Tottenham have already got a good relationship when their financial situation's fucked, because that's how we got Richarlison. Romero's gone. He's going
Some
to Atletico
relationship
Madrid.
there. We had
or-
our pants pulled down by Everton for a player that they wanted to
I'll
get
do it
rid of
again,
because
yeah.
he was cocked. But now we got a good relationship for them, so they might
Yeah.
just do it again.
Yeah, that's Levy to a T, isn't it? But the back three without Romero is probably going to be Van der Ven on the left, Danso on the right. But we can't have Radu Dragusin playing in the middle of a back three, and that's disaster. And the centre backs we're linked to. Sorry,
No, I'm just saying this is road to 7th.
By the way, in terms
Hey,
of your, are you
places
still as
higher.
confident? Sorry, guys, are you still as confident, Henry, today as you were maybe a week ago? You and your twin sister, Kate, of taking Mbeumo off of Manchester United.
I'm still confident. Yeah, I'm still. A lot of the reports at the moment are saying he wants Man United, but Tottenham haven't put a bid in yet. If we match the same bid you are, and Frank can twist his arm, I think he can become Man United player. But all the news right now is that the club wants Semenyo. That's going to be our.
But why haven't you put a bid in if you can change his mind out of interest?
Well, what I think and what Spurs think, two different things. I think Frank, I don't know if you saw his interview at the F1 at the weekend at the Canadian Grand Prix. He was basically saying that they kept questioning him about Frank and all that, and he was saying, "Oh, he's going to do a really, really good job. He's really happy at his time under Frank." And it kind of, whether it's potential just complete bollocks and he's just going to join Man United or not, but I do think if Tottenham put the same bid in as Man United, the fact that we can have a Champions League football, he wouldn't even have to move home, would he? He still live in London.
So what? So why is he giving his preference to Manchester United if he would come?
You're Man United, aren't you?
Okay, but this is. I'm not saying he can't go to Spurs. Most clubs don't bid until a player tells them that he will join. If you think we are more attractive than you, why has he given his preferences Manchester United and not Tottenham? Surely it would be that way around.
Yeah, I mean, based on my logic, if we offer the same amount of money, he should choose Tottenham, but I don't think he will, because Man United are a bigger football club, for starters, and playing for Man United is a lot different to playing for Spurs.
So then how can you be confident if you don't think you can?
Because I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket that Thomas Frank is going to twist his arm and go, look.
It sounds like delusion. It's
Yeah,
basically
probably is
delusion.
Okay.
Probably is delusion.
Let's bear in mind,
reality, Henry, man.
his tactic to convince a player to join his club is to twist their arm. That's never a good thing. To twist someone's arm into joining. They should want
Yes.
to.
Well,
They should be sitting there going,
that's
I
what
can't
Klopp did
wait.
with Van Dijk, and it worked.
Don't do that.
Klopp broke all the rules. Klopp just cheated.
I do think
I
though,
have to pay 25 million more.
I think we'll go in for Semenyo in the next week or two. But again, is Semenyo worth £50 million? Knowing the fact we've just signed Tel, we're now looking at this. I mean, there's talk of like 12 to 13 players leaving the football club this summer. I mean, how big of a rebuild has Thomas Frank got on his hands? Is fucking enormous. And immediately, if the results don't go great, everyone's going to get on his back. We actually need to like give him time, not do what we did with Nuno, and after 10 games, see you later. Because
wow, some mad stats have just come out here. This has been published by Transfer News from Transfer Market. Since the summer of 2020, this is the most amount of money spent on strikers and wingers of all clubs in Europe. Benfica are, I think it's 10th. They signed 17 players in those positions, spent 248 million. Ati, 17 players, 250 million. Then Bayern, 264 million. Then Spurs at 281 million. Napoli have spent 282 million since then.
281 million?
Yeah. Aston Villa, 293 million.
What?
Then Manchester United at 347 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Man City are now at 400 and 17 million. PSG 476 million. Since 2000, Chelsea 803 million pounds.
Oh my!
hey, it's all about potential.
So what year was that?
800, David.
800.
No.
But it's all in euros, so everybody's in euros. But
May I just say as well? Can we get the other side? Who sold the most of their talents?
Net spend isn't real. Apparently, net spend isn't real. So
net spend isn't real. But equally, the reason why net spend isn't relative here is because I look at Man United as embarrassing at 346 million, and we've currently got Højlund leading the line. It's terrible investment, and I think that for me, when you look at that, PSG's has paid off. City's, of course, Napoli's have won a couple of league titles in that time. Bayern, what they do. The rest of them, you just look at it and go, I know that Benfica are they've probably won their league title in that time, so fair enough, they're probably okay with that. But I look at it and just think, Tottenham, Villa, Man United, it's ridiculous to have spent that much. At least United, in fairness, Spurs have won a European trophy.
Villa's the one
Spurs
that's
won a
got
European trophy, and Man United have won in that time. Man United have won 2 trophies. But still, I'm not even focusing on. I'm focusing on how much Man United have spent. But still, 803 million euros, and the thing is, it's going to be higher now as well. Man United will go up, but that doesn't include the lap. That doesn't include everything else you're spending so much. Yours is probably this summer going to go near the €1 billion mark.
David, it's quite easy to break yours down. You spent how much on Lukaku?
Yeah,
you spent how much on Mudryk?
Yeah, fair.
You spent
Sterling.
How much on Sterling?
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Also, another little thing. Listen, the amount of stuff being sent in to me by the viewers, you guys are amazing, by the way. We're gonna do some super chats in a minute as well. But there have been leaked. The fixtures that come out Wednesday have been leaked, according to reports. Do you want to hear the big games opening weekend?
Oh no!
So I need to tell you these. So supposedly the Friday night game, I knew it'd be either Man United or Arsenal, but it's Arsenal away to Leeds United. According to the leaks, okay. A tough one here. Right, the Chelsea Saturday 12:30 away to Wolves.
Oh,
they'll be all right.
Hang on. Saturday 5:30, Liverpool's opening fixture away to Brighton.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Tuffy. Man United. Man United play Super Sunday away against Tottenham Hotspur.
Hey,
which is crazy. I mean, City's opening game away at Newcastle United.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
So it's listen, I hope that is for an opening weekend of football. I just wish Premier League football was Friday to Monday every week, so you can spread the games and actually watch them all and digest them.
When is the opening? What's the dates, Terry, of the opening weekend?
The 5th Friday. It'll be Friday the 15th. So it's literally 2 months. 2 months.
2 days before.
Yeah, 2 months yesterday. 2 months yesterday. Is the Well, that's why again. That could be why your plan lasts on a Sunday, and so because of that game. But so that's that. The second weekend. Any biggies there? Arsenal, Wolves. Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, big one for you, Ram.
Oh, fucking!
When does the Club World Cup finish?
15th of July.
Oh, so
where's the first massive clash though? Like big one that would be like title ramifications. I was looking here, nothing in the first. Like it's weird. Like there's nothing massive like that according to this in the opening few weeks. Liverpool, Newcastle on the 20th of September. 27th of September. They're saying it's that weekend is where Liverpool will play Manchester City that weekend. But yeah, we'll see. Often they get leaked fixtures, but they're often sometimes the test fixtures that they test to make sure the system's working. But yeah, that would be an amazing opening weekend. But I've said all along, and I'll put money on this: Man United or Arsenal will kick the weekend off, kick it off on a Friday. I always think they go to put one of us on there in hope that we lose because it makes a great thing for them. But having said that, they should be careful this year because the amount of shit they were chatting, the viewing figures, doesn't it prove it was a shit Premier League season, by the way, guys? The fact that the viewing figures fell off. Proof. Just saying.
I personally think it was the second greatest Premier League season of all time.
You would. Do you know what I mean? Let's go to some of these super chats here. This says the guy talking shit about having to not buy potential. How much money was it again? The guy talking shit about having to not buy.
David.
Yeah, it must be at David having to go at Arsenal.
I assume it's me.
Yeah, you.
Well, again, I just think our squads are at different points. So expect to win.
800 million quid since when was it? 2020? No, I think it's a slightly.
Hey, 500 mil of that is potential, and another 150 mil is on players that we've already sold for 300 mil. So don't forget that. Don't forget that.
David's hoping that Chelsea turn out to be like the people that told everyone in 2013 to buy Bitcoin for like $2, isn't it? Nothing about the model gives us the feeling that they'll do it. Plus, these directors can barely pull off significant deals without the owners, is what Jiggy Introvert says here. Magnum says, feel with you, Henry, about this. But what do you think about Real Madrid flirting with Konate this time?
Yeah, Henry, the Tottenham fan. What do you think about Konate flirting with Real Madrid?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. There's a lot of talk.
We were talking about Verts earlier. I mean,
no.
How long's Konate got left on his deal?
A year.
He's in the last 12 months.
Can Madrid just piss off? Can Madrid literally just piss off?
That's him gone, isn't it? That's him gone. But yeah, I mean, look.
You know what? I wish Real Madrid could bully some other fucking club. Pick on
I
someone
think
else.
Real Madrid will go for
Arsenal or something. Go bully Arsenal for like Saka or Lewis Skelly or something. Why is it always us?
Bastoni would be the one.
Huh?
Bastoni.
Nah, he won't be.
Yeah, think about it. They've got Asensio and they've got Dean Huijsen, two young centre backs. Rudiger's over 30 now. Alaba's likely to leave. Right. You've also got Militao, who's predominantly going to be a right back under Alonso. It makes perfect sense to bring in. Saliba's gonna probably be well over 100. Konate, I think there's probably more chance he does sign a deal because he's not sitting there going, definitely staying, guys.
Yeah, what's Konate said about his contract situation? Just so we know before you guys, what's he said? Has he said he was going to sign a new deal? Has he not?
He said he's going to play for Liverpool.
He said he was close to signing a new deal back in October of 2024, and then apparently it all went wrong, and it's just been fucked since then.
The receipts are loaded.
Would you feel just as bad if he goes to Madrid?
No, because he wasn't born in West Derby.
Okay, what about non-Scouse Liverpool fans? Will they feel as bad?
They might do.
Oh no.
I just wish that my football club could, they are allowed to negotiate contracts before it is the last 12 months of their deal. You are allowed to do that. There's no law that says no, you have to wait. Please, let's start getting ahead of the game.
I do get. I think you're going to see more of this in football, though. I think you're going to see a lot more of this in football. Because all of our clubs. This is the irony, because Pete tried to make it sound like the buying clubs of Phil, the Newcastle fan, tried to make it sound like it's the buying clubs that drive prices up because if you refuse to pay, it won't happen. But it's not. It's partly the seller's fault. The reason that players are running their contracts down is because selling clubs, when a player wants to leave, they go, we signed a new deal 2 years ago, so we've got 5 years left. We're going to whack, even though your market valuation is 60 million, we're whacking a 90, 100 million pound price tag. So players are now not renewing those deals. They're making enough money in the game. They're making so much money in endorsements and on social media that they don't have that same hang up they used to, which is, am I gonna be okay financially? You see this in all walks of life, by the way. You get like soap stars in England that they don't earn masses of money. Like the Phil Mitchell, the Steve McFadden's are on like 200Ks a year. They're the big stars. Most of them are normally earning 50 to 70K, which is good money. But now what's happening is so many of them are leaving the soaps happily because they get made famous and they start getting all these big endorsement deals and they're making 300 or 400 grand a year off of Instagram posts. Footballers are making even more than that. So this is where selling clubs have got to start becoming more sensible. If they start agreeing to sell people at reasonable prices, players will re-sign the contracts, and then they won't want the buyout clauses because they can happen at any time. I think if clubs start doing that, you'll get more players renewing their deals regularly, meaning that you can get a sale value for the player. So I think they're going to end up being a happy medium. Can't wait for Konate's speech to speak in perfect Spanish next year. I listened to that back 3 or 4 times, and I will bow down to people that speak Spanish. It goes very, very good. There were bits that sounded really good, But there are other bits where I don't know. People say that's 2 years.
That was an A-level Spanish speaking exam. That's what that was. Those answers were loaded.
Oh, do you mean like so? It's like he practiced those words rather than
learn
Spanish.
He can't. If someone in Spain had a conversation with him, he can do it. But
also, AGT, who's a Liverpool fan, obviously very well educated. AGT, he speaks Spanish. He said that that's like amazing Spanish, but equally, it felt like he was reading a speech as opposed to just talking. There is a difference because I think I can't speak anything in Spanish. Give me 5 lines and let me practice for 2 weeks solid those lines, putting on the accent. I bet I could say them and make it sound like I knew Spanish. I bet I could. Should I do that as a challenge?
Yeah.
No. Should I?
Do it.
I reckon.
Right, I need someone to write me the lines.
I've got one line in Spanish, and that's pretty much it. And that's taking me probably.
Go on.
Hola, dos pintas, por favor.
Yeah,
Hello.
but say it's more Spanish. But my French teacher used to say to me to get the French accent because I was like Joey from Friends. I was like je m'appelle. I was terrible. She used to say, she was brilliant. My French teacher, Miss Strode, I loved it a bit. She said, "Take the piss," because me and her used to swear at each other. I used to swear a lot at school, and she was just like, "Look, when it's just me and you, can swear." And she went, "Act like you're taking the piss out of my voice, and try and make it sound like really French." And I do it, and she goes, "Perfect French accent." And I was like, "Oh shit, it really works." So I'm going to coach you in the same way Miss Strode taught me. Like, put on a Spanish accent while you're saying it.
Hola, dos pintas, por favor.
No, more Spanish.
Said it the exact same way.
I can't. I mean, I'm shit. That's all I've got. And when I was in Bilbao, they don't even speak Spanish up there, so I was fucked. I went into a bar. Right, I've got the one line on lock, and he looked at me like,
I just reckon.
Speak Swahili.
I just reckon that Miss Strode was her name, and it worked. Like my French oral exam that used to make us laugh as 15, 16-year-old lads, like, was great because she was saying to me, I mean, in the room, she was going like this, take the piss out of me, and I was like, okay, I'll do that, miss. She was great, but Spanish.
Terry, look at the first 5 lines of Trent's speech and rehearse them. You could do it. Easy.
I'll have a little look and see if I can do it. Hang on. Matt Law here. Napoli weighing up a move for Grealish, but will not match his wages. Yeah, of course they won't. Which they won't ever do that in over there. I've just found those league Prem fixtures, and somehow Leicester are paying Leicester on the final day. Oh, really? Oh, I've only seen the page that has September. August and September. So yeah, well there we go. They must be fake then. They must be fake. Oh yeah, someone sent me more through. Leicester v Leicester. No, I haven't got the final day of the season ones. But there we go. So maybe it's just a test.
I reckon Leicester might win that one.
We are linked with Lewis Skelly as well. Don't worry.
Oh well, we should bully in every other club.
Yeah. Give Garnacho some credit. He was the best player against Man City in the FA Cup final and still learning. Odegaard was written off at Real Madrid at that age. Also, Henry, get a haircut.
Do you think I'm Henry? Does Magnum think I'm Henry?
Yeah, he does.
I was going to say,
yeah, mate. Honestly,
I need a haircut anyway.
Tom, speaking to a guy that has long hair, cut your hair, bro. You look like a coconut.
You need to cut yours as well. What are we doing?
What are you saying?
At least mine is slipped. I don't know what that is. At least mine is slipped back.
You listen, Ram and Tom. You both need a full makeover. Like Gokwan, the hair, the clothes, the beard, the glasses. The toenail, everything's got to be cleaned up, tidied up on you two.
I'm happy with the long hair, man.
You two, honestly, you two remind you that meme of that guy in his basement from South Park. That's like you two. You know what I mean? Who is the player people should appreciate more? Michael Carrick.
Moussa Dembele.
No, he's rated now.
Okay, I think he's rated.
Only by Belgium or Spurs players.
No, like Iwobi said it the other day. I've seen like loads of people say it.
I mean, the fact that he didn't get tackled in the Premier League for 10 months is just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I don't think he's underrated. I think everyone you speak to rates him. I think he is rated. I think what he should have done is bigger clubs should have given him a punt. No disrespect to Spurs. He was. he wasn't doing it at the highest level of the game. He wasn't playing in front of the Champions League audiences, and he was a fantastic player. He really, really was. By the way, you are right. The question about referees earlier, Chelsea in the 2009 Champions League semi-final, that was what was in my head, and I forgot about it. That was just fantastic. A robbery beyond robberies. That game was. And the worst bit was, the football gods got me. I celebrated it because I at that time thought we had more chance of beating Barcelona in the final than Chelsea.
I'm surprised, Terry, you didn't talk about 2002. Korea versus Italy.
I don't remember that one.
Was that semi-final?
The quarter-final. It might have been semi.
I mean, I thought it was just pretty obvious. Everyone knew that was a bit of match fixing. So it's not like a...
I don't remember it. I'm waiting for someone to tell me.
So he got sent off or something.
There was like a collection of things. So South Korea were like the wonderful feel-good story of the tournaments, and there was some other like deeper things. So on the day, South Korea got a penalty which shouldn't have been a penalty. Totti got sent off for something that was never a red card. An Italy player got boosted in the face and didn't get a foul, even though it was a Stonewall red card. Stuff like that.
It was offside. It was offside when it wasn't offside and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. There was like 5 or 6 or 7 like major decisions that went against them, and South Korea won like 2-1 or something.
They then lost. Did they lose?
Yeah, they lost in the semi-final.
They lost to Germany, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember the tournament. I just don't remember that controversy. But yeah, that was I love that World Cup. It's one of my favorites. That was mainly because all the games came on like early hours in the morning. So it was like you watch the football and then you have your whole day still. It was great. Plus, I just left school. That was like the summer I'd left school as well. So it was the only summer I've ever had like completely off in my life. Since then, it's been work every fucking time. So it was like the last bit of freedom in my life. So Tom needs to cut it. Henry needs to groom it.
Who do you reckon was suiting Mali better at me and Tom?
You.
Neither.
Probably you.
Really?
I just don't want a mullet.
Yeah, I feel like if you've got a mullet, you've got to have a bit of muscle on you, and Tom doesn't like to eat.
I mean, I am slowly trying, but failing.
Tom don't like to eat food or lift weights. When we took him to the gym, it was the funniest experience of my whole life. Honestly, bruv, it was the funniest experience ever, man. Like, as much as I am losing weight and I'm a fat git, I'd still rather be fat than Tom. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'd love to have been in the like a fly on the wall when you was having the conversation and Tom was just eating a plain burger. Just nothing.
No, that wasn't even the funniest conversation, was it, David? The best conversation was about his trans friend that he.
That's one of the greatest moments of my life. Honestly, it
was perfection. It was perfection because he still twists it to this day. He was like, one of my friends is trans, converted from a boy to a girl, and all I asked was a very honest question because I was like, oh, okay. So do you find her attractive? And Tom, without hesitation, said, I don't know. Right? Deliberating. We all went, what? Wound him up. What? The whole room went off for like laughing. And he's like, no, I didn't say that. What I said is, I don't know. As in, I don't know. Of course not. And it wasn't said in that way. It was so funny, man. It was so funny.
And you got a missus as well at that time.
Yeah, yes. No, he says that. He's still with her.
Oh, here we go.
We were away together for like 2.5 weeks. Me, David, and Tom from the same day to the because we drove there. This man didn't ring his girlfriend once.
What? Yeah, I don't ring it.
Is it? Didn't ring her once.
I don't need to ring it.
Do you know what it is? That's because you can't ring something that's AI, can you? Do you know what I'm saying? Like
here we go. Fucking hell. Henry's here. Bully Henry. Bully Henry.
Please, the World Cup's next year. If there's an opportunity to do something, that will be fucking hilarious.
And listen, I just want to add, by the way, the Football Terrace view. People are allowed to fancy and like who they want, whether they are male, female, trans, whatever it is, as long as it's illegal, as long as it's above board. Nobody cares, but it was just funny watching his reaction to it. So it was a great night that was. Listen, I want to thank every single person who has tuned in. I'm live on That's Football at 7:45 for the watch along for the Chelsea versus LAFC game. We're also live on the Football Terrace afterwards for a match reaction for that game. This is going to redirect you there now, so you can bookmark it, get yourselves ready for those shows. Listen, everyone that's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Thank you to my panel, to our super chatters. You've all been amazing. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.